Windigo, Spirit of the North. A Windigo is a supernatural being belonging to the spiritual traditions of Algonquin-speaking First Nations in North America. In the frozen north, between the Great Lakes and the Arctic Circle, there is a traditional monster born of the hardships of surviving the brutal winters and waning game. In times of famine, people would resort to cannibalism, and the Windigo is a brutal warning of the dangers and the curse of such behavior. Anciently, the Windigo has been described as 15 feet tall, extremely thin, with a skeleton pushing through the ash-colored mummy-like skin, wearing rags, with a star on its forehead. It has no lips, as they have eaten them off while being consumed by overpowering hunger. A Windigo's eyes have been described as sunken or glowing like hot coals. Yellow pointy teeth, sharp claws, a long tongue, extremely bad breath and body odor are often traits of a Windigo. They sometimes grow larger as they eat more. They can run so fast they wear their feet down to bloody stumps and can fly from tree to tree high above you. They will regenerate the parts that are cut or broken, and their feet will restore to their enormous size. They smell like death and have superhuman strength. They will stalk you tirelessly. They are shapeshifters and will appear or sound like someone you know and trust as they call out to you from the dark forest. They can read your mind and will torment you in your dreams, slowly driving you mad. The only sure way to kill them is with an axe blow to the head, then to cut out their icy heart and burn it. There is no escaping the Windigo. If they find you, death will follow. If they do not kill you, they will transform you into a human Windigo, and you will develop an insatiable hunger for human flesh, even to the point of killing and consuming your own family and friends. You will wander alone for the rest of your days, seeking to satisfy that hunger. A shaman, seeking supernatural powers, may darkly commune with the evil powers of the Windigo to take on its spirit and become one with it. They will do this to obtain immortality, superhuman strength, and power. They are considered the most dangerous versions of the Windigo. Let me tell you some true stories of the Windigo. A documented case occurred in 1878 when a Plains Cree trapper from Alberta named Swift Runner suffered one of the worst cases known. Swift Runner was a trader with the Hudson Bay Company who was married and the father of 6 children. In 1875, he served as a guide for the Northwest Mounted Police. During the winter of 1879, Swift Runner and his family were starving, among numerous other Cree families. His eldest son was the first to die of starvation, and at some point, Swift Runner succumbed to Windigo psychosis. Though emergency food supplies were available at Hudson's Bay Company Post, some 25 miles away, he did not attempt to travel there. Rather, he killed the remaining members of his family and consumed them. He eventually confessed and was executed by the authorities at Fort Saskatchewan. Another well-known case involving Windigo psychosis was that of Jack Fiddler, an OG Cree chief and medicine man, known for his powers at defeating Windigos. He claimed to have defeated 14 Windigos during his lifetime. Some of these creatures were said to have been sent by enemy shamans, and others were members of his own band, when he was usually asked by family members to kill a very sick loved one before they turned Windigo. His own brother, Peter Flett, was killed after turning Windigo when the food ran out on a trading expedition. In 1907, Jack Fiddler and his brother were arrested by the Canadian authorities for murder. Jack committed suicide, but Joseph was tried and sentenced to life in prison. He ultimately was granted a pardon, but died 3 days later in jail before receiving the news of his pardon. More recent stories include a Reddit user by the name of Mattis Frigas. Hello Reddit, I'm looking for some help after having a dream about the Windigo. The dream goes as follows. I was running through the woods while something chased me. I could see glimpses of it, but didn't know what it was. I fell into a ditch where a Native American man told me to be quiet. He pointed up and whispered the following word, Wetiko. The Windigo peered its head over the edge, looking in the ditch. It appeared almost to be a combination of monsters from A Quiet Place as well as the Windigo from Until Dawn. The Native American man blew some kind of dust on me, and then I woke up. I wouldn't be sharing this if I hadn't heard the word Wetiko, which I had never heard until this moment. I looked it up, and it is indeed the native word for Windigo, which chills me. Next story. Posted by Reddit user Distinct Earthling. My encounter with a tall, pale, aggressive creature on Christmas night, 2007, around 8:30 p.m. in upstate New York. The day was pleasant and festive, opening presents early in the morning with my sisters, hearty breakfast made by Dad, delicious smells from the kitchen as Mom and Dad prepared a feast, visits from extended family bringing pies and cakes for dessert. Around 2, we all sat down to eat and then lazed about for the rest of the afternoon to the evening. At about 8, after everyone had left and the food was all put away, I decided to head over to visit my friend in the next village. The drive would be about 10 minutes if I took back roads to get there, so I did. First, a little background on where my friend lived. It was a housing development around a private lake. You might call it a gated community. You could still drive through it freely after hours by entering one of 4 private entry points. Since the community was built around the lake, the roads surrounding it went in a spiral sort of shape. The houses were sparsely positioned on the outermost part of the spiral road, closest to the 4 entry points. As you drove further in, there were a lot more houses positioned closer near the lake. My friend lived on the outer edge of this development, so once I reached the entry point, it would only take me another few minutes until I reached his house. His house, along with all the others, were far enough apart you couldn't see them from the road as you drove by. There were either woods all around with long drives or open fields with long drives. You could see porch lights in the distance, but that was about it. As I entered into the development, the speed limit dropped from 30 miles per hour down to 20. There were no street lights in the development, and for some reason, I never put my high beams on. I couldn't go any faster than the speed limit because there were speed bumps in place every 30 feet or so. It was a mild night. I remember having my driver's side window open slightly, taking in some fresh air. I remember driving in silence, which was unusual for me. I normally always listen to music when I'm driving. I must have been enjoying the quietness after the commotion of the day. I reached a section of road that had barren fields on either side and woods set back. Houses were probably nestled back into the trees. As I drove, I noticed what looked like someone walking up ahead on the side of the road, coming in my direction. Mind you, I was still going about 20 miles per hour the whole time. so it was probably less than a minute by the time the walker came into clear view. I got a quick scan of it from my windshield before my car and I were exactly parallel. This is what I saw. It was not a person. It stood on two long legs, with long arms hanging down from its shoulders. It was strong looking, lean, muscular, but not beefy in nature. I looked at him at the same time. It stood at least 7 foot tall. It was light colored, not sure if it was white, tan, yellow, or grayish. It didn't appear to have fur, but there was some texture to the skin. It wasn't smooth. There appeared to be something coming down off its back. I don't know what this was. All I can recall about its face is the small features it had. But the mouth and jaw were notably large. And it had pointed things atop its head. Two things. Going straight upward, with something mingled between the two things. That's what I got from the quick scan from my observation of it as it neared my car, and my car neared it. As my car became parallel to it within a split second, I went from looking out my windshield to looking at it from my driver's side window. In that moment, its face quickly peered down at me, and all I remember was the mouth open wide. Out came a remarkable scream that I will never forget. Gives me the chills just thinking about it. It consisted of a high-pitched, shrill shriek enveloped by a deep guttural growl. Both sounds happened simultaneously in that scream. I kept driving all the while. This was all happening so fast I didn't even have a chance to be scared or shocked or anything. I continued driving and went past my friend's house and drove home. Called to tell him what happened and that I just needed to get back. I was probably running on adrenaline to get back home. Later on, I was in total shock after it sunk in. Had my driver's side window been open fully, it would have touched me, or worse, taken me. I'm certain of it. Windigo creature sightings are still reported, especially in northern Ontario, near the Cave of the Windigo, and around the town of Kenora, where it has been spotted by traders, trackers, and trappers for decades. There are many who still believe that the Windigo roams the woods and the prairies of northern Minnesota and Canada. Sightings of the creature in this area have continued well into the new millennium.